I must admit, it's not like we knew exactly how we were going to solve it. We just knew one thing, it's broken.
That's the co-founder of Wiz, and they got to 100 million in ARR in 18 months. Here's one of the strategies that they used.
From the CEO to the product to the CTO, all of the managers, it's a hands-on culture. We don't just manage, we actually do.
So how did this translate to actually building the product in a market that had thousands of competitors?
From doing assessments with customers. I remember we found a VM with credentials that were very easy to break, with access to an external IP. We said, wait, which product can catch that?
The best founders are the best detectives. In this case, they realized that all the other competitors were not solving for the right problem.
The problem is, if I have 1 hour, what should I fix right now? To answer that, you need to come with a new approach.
You get to go into the head of a founder of one of the fastest growing companies in the history of the world. You're going to learn a lot. Welcome to Sit Down Startup Founder Podcast. We interview the best founders in the world and ask them what they did in the early days, right before that hockey stick growth moment. I'm your host, Adam O'Donnell, a former founder. I live here in San Francisco and I now work for Zendesk for Startups. Zendesk is a customer support platform and we offer 6 months free to qualified product-oriented startups. The partner shout out this week goes to Segment, the leading customer data platform. Check out the link to get 50,000 in Segment credits. Ami, welcome to Sit Down Startup Founder Podcast. Like, it is such a pleasure to have you here. Just to see what your company has done, it's super impressive, and to see some of the investors that you've had. But if you could just for a second tell us what Wiz does, and maybe kind of share how many employees you have, how much money you've raised, just to kind of give like a highlight where we are now.
Yeah. So first of all, really excited to be on the podcast, and thank you for having me. So I'm Ami, the CTO for Wiz. One of the co-founders. Wiz is now one of the largest companies in cloud security. It's pretty unbelievable for us. We started less than 3 years ago, and we've grown. We work today with more than 30% of the Fortune 100 companies, trying to change how security is done for cloud. In a fundamental way. And I really believe after many years in security is that like we did like security in general, something has been broken and we are trying to fix it. And when I say broken, I mean that if you talk with teams that build on cloud, especially, and you talk with security, you understand there's tension. There's tension. Like the security team doesn't actually know what's being built, and the dev team feels the security team doesn't know anything. there's tension, and it's not good. And the reason there's tension is really because cloud is changing fundamentally how things are built, and because of that, security needs to fundamentally change how security is done. And we're trying to fix that. And I feel like we are, it's going to the future. Tools change, technologies change, but I feel like the concept we were trying to do is the right approach, which is, again, it's simple. It says the following. I'm looking at an environment. I want to know what is the actual true risk in that environment across all of the different factors, right? And factors can be many different siloed security tools today. Now, it's trivial. Of course, that's what you want. As a developer, that's what you want to ask for your security team. I have 1 hour this week to fix something. Tell me what to do. How can they do it today? They have like 20 different tools. Which of them do they choose to fix? They have probably 10K vulnerabilities, have 10K configuration issues. Like, how do they choose? And what we've done in Wiz is think about it in a new way. Think about it as basically, let's understand the building. Let's understand the environment. Let's put all of the information together and analyze what is the path an attacker will use. And then let's tell the developer, fix that. Hey, we found a database with very, very sensitive information. This database runs in a cluster. This cluster has access through a load balancer to the internet, right? You should really fix that. So drop everything, fix that.
It makes so much sense. I love how you're breaking it down just fundamentally. So thank you for that. And you said you're one of the biggest cybersecurity companies in the world. Can you give us like how many employees you have, how much money you've raised, that kind of stuff?
So we raised $600 million. We announced after 18 months in business that we were able to get to $100 million ARR within 18 months since the first $1 million. We announced it in around August. So that was the fastest in history. And now we are even more than that. And again, we are really, really proud of the customers that we work with the largest cloud environment today in the world across AWS, Azure, GCP. And it's really amazing to see just the impact, because you deploy and you see risks that you've never seen before.
It makes so much sense, and I love the way you're flipping it on its head versus the previous the structure. So just zooming into you as a founder, like I want to learn how this happened. But would you first tell us, like, what were you doing the same thing that you are now when you first started?
Okay, so that's it's a good question. No, so I'll give you some background. We are the same founding team. We've known each other since 2001. I joined the army and I met the other founders. I was just 17, right? And we've served together for 9 years, right? So we have a long history together. Our first startup we started in 2012. It was Adalom, and it was acquired by Microsoft in 2015. So we were working in Microsoft for 4 years in cloud security. We were leading cloud security in Microsoft. So we have a lot of background. When we started Wiz, we didn't know exactly how we are going to solve the problem. But what we did know is the following. We wanted to build this time something big. In most startups, you look for a small problem, a niche problem. Why? Because if it's a small market, then there's no competitors, right? And then you hope the niche market is going to grow, right? That's usually how it works. In Wiz, first of all, we were a bit more bullish on trying to actually attack an existing market. And it was pretty crazy because cloud security has hundreds of companies, maybe thousands of solutions. Trying to go and compete there seemed almost crazy. And I must admit that it's not like we knew exactly how we're going to solve it. We just knew one thing: it's broken. We knew it's broken. We knew it's not working. Why? Because we were talking with people and security teams told us, we don't know how to fix because we don't understand the alerts. We have no idea what the developers are doing. Like, we knew something is broken, and then it was all about now trying to, and that's the magic of startup, trying to find what is broken and how to fix it.
How did you go about that? Can you take us into a story maybe of like the first time you?
Okay, so in Wiz, and it's true, it's the same concept we have until today. All of the managers in Wiz until today are very hands-on, meaning that we are all doing the work ourselves, right? From the CEO to the product, to the CTO, all of the managers, it's part of the culture. It's a hands-on culture, right? We don't just manage, right? We actually do. Now, how do we start a product? Exactly like that. We were talking with the customers and we told them we want to do a different approach, right? We actually started from doing assessments with customers. You know, we went to their environment, we started investigating it, and we were using the existing tools. We were looking at environments, and we saw, okay, yeah, that definitely doesn't give the customer the critical things they're looking for. And then doing investigation, we saw, I remember we found a VM running in an environment. This VM was running an HTTP server with credentials that were very easy to break, with access to an external IP, right? And we said, wow, that's an amazing finding. And we said, wait, which product can catch that? There is no product that can catch that, right? Why? That's what they wanted to see. Can we automate that, right? Can we automate? Basically, what did we do here? We were combining vulnerability analysis, application analysis, network exposure analysis, identity analysis in one, and trying to look for, and then we call it now toxic combination, which is basically a way into the environment. And this became Wiz very quickly.
Wow. It was literally just going to sit with the customers. It sounds like taking the Elon Musk mindset. Like he's a builder, he's a developer. You're writing the code. You're having these conversations with them, and then you see the problem, and you're looking at how they're using their existing tools. And you probably did you use them when you were at Microsoft? These same kind of tools?
It's similar but different. But the entire industry was building the same tools, right? You had a vulnerability assessment, you had CSPM, but all of these tools, right? It doesn't matter which vendor, they were all looking at the problem in the wrong way, right? It's like a configuration tool giving you configuration problems. I don't care about configuration problems. I care about an actual end-to-end risk. That's what I care about, right? That's what the customer cares about. So the point is that we were trying to look for what's broken, and then we understood what's broken is that everyone is solving, but they're not solving the problem. They're solving different problems. What vulnerabilities I have? Yeah, you can have other products that do it. What misconfigurations I have? Yeah, but that's not the problem. The problem is, if I have 1 hour this week, what should I fix right now? And to answer that, you need to come with a new approach. And that's, once we found it, how did we know it's the right way? It's simple. You work with customers before you build the product, right? Again, our product people are also hands-on, right? Hands-on doesn't mean that you develop on your own. It means that before you actually develop, we build slides. When we show to customers the slides about, hey, we're going to find critical risk, boom, everyone wanted pilots. We didn't even have the product yet. Everyone wanted pilots. They wanted to deploy. We knew, and then we started building, right? So don't build 2 years and then go to the customers, right? Be very close to the customers, work with them, see if they're actually try to solve it manually, see that they really want something, and then actually develop what they want, right? Now, it's easy to say. Obviously, it's harder to do. There is a lot of exploration here, a lot of, honestly, stress. Okay, we already had 20 people. We were not sure exactly what's going to be the direction. You need to be very sure of yourself, but very open to ideas. It's stressful.
100%. This is really important. The way you're focusing on the end problem based on the customer. It sounds like so obvious when you're in a conversation like this, but so many of the ways that big companies operate is not around that. So I love that you just had zero-based thinking. What is the problem? And then you're like, oh wait, we're solving the wrong problem. The right problem to solve for is, if you had 1 hour, what should I fix? And once you knew the right problem to solve for it, then you solved it. What was one of the lowest points on your journey? Because you haven't had that long of a journey, but just in those hard moments that you said, if there's a story that you could share that might be inspiring for a founder, would be great.
So I'll tell you just the background. We were working in Microsoft for 4 years. It was a great time. We were the largest security acquisition for Microsoft in 2015, and during the 4 years in Microsoft, Microsoft became the biggest security vendor in the world, right? So it's from almost zero to $1 billion. Now they just announced, by the way, they're already at 20 billion. So it was very exciting to be part of the building the security business there, right? Now imagine we were we had really great roles there. We decided to leave January 2020, okay? Starting the company around March 2020. And then what happens? We started the company. We went to RSA just to start the San Francisco end of February 2020, okay? In the middle of the conference, boom, COVID announced, half of the people leave in the middle of the conference, right? That's how the company started. That was a bit shocking for us, right? We just decided to leave, and we thought, and it seemed like the world is going to crash, and that's the worst time to leave Microsoft. And we already have, all of our, we wanted to bring employees who will come now, it's the worst. So that was a very stressful time.
I can only imagine that. And what was your next step in that moment? Like, how did you get out of that hole?
So, in hindsight, I can say that actually it was this silence, this quiet. It's actually good for a startup. Sometimes in a startup, one of the problems is that there's too much noise, right? Investors want to come and meet you. They want you to fly their conferences. Customers want you to fly there. A lot of noise, a lot of flights, a lot of travel. What COVID gave us in some sense is there was a lot of quiet, right? There were no meetings. No one wanted us to come there, right? Like we were able to talk with customers, even do sales with the customer, entire sales process without flying anywhere, right? Think about it. You can do 24/7 sales without leaving the room, right? So we just continued, and what we found out is that for us, in order to find our path and build the product, in many senses, this quiet time, even raising huge rounds afterwards, we did all of them from here, from the office, right? It's I think honestly, a lot of the ability for Wiz to scale in the beginning was the ability to work in quiet.
That is so good. So talk to me about just how you were able to solve the problem of this rapid growth without breaking the fundamental product. Because to go to 100 million in 18 months and not just like make a lot of your customers frustrated is amazing.
So it's a good question. And I think that if you look at our background, I feel like we were able to merge two aspects of our experience. We came from a startup, but we also went through Microsoft. And Microsoft taught us how to build products at scale. In Microsoft, you don't build a feature if it doesn't scale to 100 million users, right? When we came from Adalon to Microsoft, I remember the day where we had to cut 70% of our features. 70% of our features. But the rest were scalable, So in Wiz, what we've done is we created a new model, which is a combination of both. It's a startup, but we don't put any feature if it cannot scale 100x from day one, right? If you don't know how it's going to scale, just don't develop it from day one, because if the customer is going to like it in the pilot, it's not going to work in production, right? Now, it sounds easy and simple, but it requires so much discipline. It required you to be very true to yourself. And although customers might want features, if it does not scale, don't put it in the product. Otherwise, you will never be able to scale. It will never work. So everything you do in the product and also in other activities that you do, you have to think about scale from the beginning.
That is a really cool lesson. And it's amazing how it worked out. Last two questions. These are super short answers. What was your superpower, or what would you say is your superpower as a co-founder?
So I think life is about stories. Customers are also looking for stories. They have problems, right? And they need you to explain them their problems and tell them the story of success, right? So I think the key role for a CTO is to bridge between the technology and the needs, and the bridge is the story, right? The story is not just storytelling. It's also a technical story, right? It's a story that understands the actual problem and understands how to solve it, right? You have to stitch those two together. And that's the story of the product, right? The story of the product is both the existing and also the future, right? You say, I'm going to solve this problem. This is what you have now, and this is where we're going to go, right? And that's what a CTO needs to do, right? Understand where the customers are, what we can actually deliver right now, and also give them the direction of how they can build their cloud security strategy on top of Wiz, right? So like you have to do all of that in the same sentence.
And stories are things that they remember. That's an amazing superpower. I'm going to take that for myself. And the final one is, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a kid?
I don't know yet. I think, speaking about myself as a CTO, honestly, CTO, the beauty of a CTO role, and I've been a CTO in Microsoft for 1,500 developers. I've been CTO for Adalom and CTO in Wiz. CTO is about self-exploration, right? It's reinventing yourself all of the time. It's not about just going to conferences. It's about understanding what the company needs right now in terms of technical leadership, in terms of vision, in terms of actual, today in Wiz, because we care about customers, I actually focus mostly on post-sale, on customers, on support, on technical enablement, because that's the actual gap that I want to focus on and help the company. So for me, CTO is about inventing yourself all of the time.
Reinventing. Wow, Ami, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about Zendesk for startups, check out our website, zendesk.com/startups. Also, we're always looking to improve, so don't hesitate to email me with any feedback on how we can ask better questions, guess the target, or anything else so we can do to better help you as a founder. My email is adam.o'donnell@zendesk.com.